Hi, my name is Prachi Pinglay. I'm the consulting editor with Citizen Matters and I handle Mumbai chapter. Um, Very frequently, we do video discussions with civic activists and experts to understand certain issues and also put out informative uh, articles along with the videos so that people can use them for their own benefit and understanding of how civic processes work, right? So Milind, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank
uh,
you.
yeah, just for our viewers, Milind Mhaske is with Praja Foundation, and Praja Foundation has been putting out extremely useful and informative reports on civic issues. And one of their most popular reports is the MLA Report Card, in which they kind of give rankings to all the MLAs and based on various parameters which we will discuss now. And these report cards are not just extremely popular, but they're also very informative in terms of how various civic bodies are functioning. Would that be right, Milind? That was
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So I'll get straight to the point. Actually, how did the idea of MLA report card really come about? You've been publishing one since 2011
Yeah.
every year. So please tell us about, how did it all come together? Yeah.
Uh, so it's something which was more personal. It's beyond Praja actually, and I was just out of college and we were doing this meet your candidate kind of things in Mumbai, and that got me started to think about we need to have some kind of uh, feedback or like a report which tells you what your the elected person has done for a period of time. And then as like I said, started talking about it and became part of Praja, we started thinking about this idea of that each of us get a performance appraisal, like as professionals or as like students, we get a report card.
Right.
It tells you what you've done in terms of the year performance, where you stand based on certain parameters, and there's a benchmarking done over there, there's a comparison done over there. And the idea of the tool is to give you a feedback essentially about where you stand and where you can areas where you can improve upon. Like it's not simply a tool to tell you that you are not doing good or bad.
Yeah.
It's actually
It's
a
not
tool
just
to help you
criticism. Yeah.
improve.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we thought like that's something that is brilliant. Like, why don't we have something similar for a elected representative? Of course, we have once in a 5 year, we have elections and all that. That's anyway the biggest exam for them, if I had to put it that way.
Right.
But that doesn't allow them essentially to do some kind of course correction or reflection upon how they have been doing year on year. 5 years is a huge period. Like
Right.
we try to figure out what could be the right gap after which some feedback has to happen. And we thought the annual appraisal system is a great, like we should have something for the elected representatives or something similar.
Right. So, when you have been doing it for such a long time, I mean, do you see any particular trends? Like, is there anything that has changed a lot or has not changed at all? Or uh, just to look back and tell me, like, what do you see?
So I think a lot has definitely been changing in Mumbai, where we have been doing it for a pretty long time. Uh, and I think one of the reason it has also changed is because of the stakeholders, the kind of stakeholders with whom we kind of interact. Like I think the civic sense in Mumbai is at a different level. We have
Yeah.
a lot of participation happening. Uh, and everybody out here does think about it in some kind of professional manner. Like so, even the councillors, MLAs, they do accept feedbacks much more positively.
Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other parts, but there's a certain professionalism about this city. Like I mean, everybody's wanting to prove themselves. Like
True, true.
we do this in Delhi also. We do find uptake for this kind of work out there. But in terms of the participation in Mumbai, I think it's a little more robust or more competitive. Competitive is probably the word. Like
Right.
so, what has changed in the last few years? I have a lot of anecdotes. Like I mean, some of the councillors or MLAs whom we have kind of ranked. they have come to us to understand the parameters. They have tried to understand where are the areas where they can improve. So, for example, this is particular counselor. I'm not going to name the person, but this is a common story which I hear in Mumbai Daily Board, like where we do the reports.
Right.
He's a senior counselor. So the senior counselors believe that they don't need to probably use proper devices to raise a question, because once they stand to deliver a bhashan and the speech is enough.
Everyone
And
should
then
be, yeah.
and then they are supposed to be only in the gender body meetings, not in the committee meetings and all that.
Correct.
Award committee meetings are not for their persona, because they
It's
won't
not
be.
up to their, yeah.
And if they're senior, they won't be sitting in the award committee chairperson seat, right? So
Right.
the bada kursi kiska hai
Correct.
wala scene, like, so they don't want to do that, like. And so typically this person was not attending the ward committees and all that. Now we were very clear when we designed it that um, attendance in the local area committee, the local ward committee, is much more important. Like, so
Correct.
apart from the gender body meeting, so we have looked at attendance in three levels. One is the gender body meeting attendance, one is the ward committee attendance, and the attendance in other committees wherever they are part of it. So this person, of course, was losing out on his ward committee attendance, right?
Right.
And when he
So
understood that, and he
starting to
understood,
score less. Yeah.
yeah, so he was trying to, I would say, in a way, game the system, right? We wanted to like make a happy come, mujhe bata denge. And he told him like, you are here, low here, and he said like, why should I even attend that thing? I can get things done. And when even if I attend one ward committee meeting,
Hmm.
everybody out there starts looking at me, including officers and chairperson, and then I drive the meeting in a way like.
Hmm.
That's brilliant, na? Because you are then able to solve your problems.
Hmm.
I mean, the problem of not just your own locality, but problem of the entire
Hmm.
administrative ward, like
Hmm.
of other councillors, everybody. Like, so probably you need to attend it, not for your
Hmm.
sake, but for their sake. Like,
Hmm.
and he said like, okay, okay, let me go. He goes there and
Hmm.
then messages me saying that, oh, I've been here, like I've attended a meeting.
Oh, nice.
Then after a couple of times
Hmm.
we had a meeting with him, and he was telling me that actually he's finding it very useful because of course he's able to drive a lot of change because of his being present over there, and doesn't
Hmm.
need to always get it escalated to the commissioner's office and all
Correct.
that, but also
Correct.
his fellow councillors, irrespective of the party affiliation, are
Hmm.
benefiting from him being there, like
Correct. Correct.
uh, I think personally he was also trying to run for a MLA election, so the
Hmm.
constituency will grow. So he was trying to show that also.
Absolutely.
So it worked
Absolutely.
for him. It worked for the councillors. It worked for many people.
Right.
Like, I think these are the example.
Hmm.
I mean, these are the stories which are much more important than just the
Correct.
numbers behind it. Like,
There's a numbers.
this is very fundamental because it allows the whole idea of a ward committee to become much more
It's more
real.
robust, right? I mean, then it becomes more rigorous. Like everything starts to work better in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
And that's the way the report card was designed. Like, we had taken
Hmm.
each parameter and thought of it how it will ultimately create an impact on the life of citizens. Like,
Right.
so we, I mean, we do find this happening. Uh, I don't have any really stories of things going bad. I mean, I have more stories of things
It's
happening
getting
much more
better.
positive.
Hmm.
Like earlier, Mumbai used to have the top question which was asked in Mumbai was
Hmm.
on renaming of roads and chowks.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And it used to get highlighted whenever we used to come up with any report. Like, uh, but over the years, I would say in the last 10 years, that question is still there. I mean, that's one of the function of the corporation to name roads and chokes and all that. So of course it will be there, but it's gone down significantly. It's gone down to
It's
six,
not a
seven.
priority in that sense. Hmm.
Absolutely. So because this data got highlighted, like so, data has a very important uh, place when it comes to making things happen. Like, I mean, as citizens, we could probably use data to get a lot of things happening in governance, democracy, getting the political system to work. We
Right.
don't really appreciate and understand it adequately. Like,
True. True. So could you explain to us the parameters of these report cards? Maybe with an example of one particular profile. What are the parameters and how do you grade them? And what is the importance of each of them? So, hmm.
okay. When we started out, till at least for the first 11 years, we had three broad parameters. We had a
Hmm.
present parameter, we had a past, and we had a perception.
Hmm.
Um, Past was, of course, based on their uh, their affidavit data, whether they have a criminal record, they have what's their education, do they have a PAN card, and if they have a new FIR filed on them or a charge sheet filed on them, there was some negative marking for it.
Correct.
The present was more about what they did as a legislator, like their attendance, their the funds that they are utilizing, the number of questions that they have raised, the number of debates that they have taken part in, the quality of questions that they have raised, and that was the bulk of the marking system. So that's the role of the legislator, right? So. But when we started out, there was a talk about that ultimately this can happen, but it's also important to understand how citizens pursue the work of the elected representative. So for the first 11 years, we ran a very robust survey done through a third-party agency to do a perception mapping of the MLAs and councils also, like when we did
Right.
those reports. After 11 years, we dropped it because we had adequate data to show that even if it takes just a pass and the past and present as 100%, and we compare that with the perception data. People or the MLAs or councillors who were ranked higher simply on the perception, it matched with the people who were ranked higher on the
The
legislative
role.
role. So
Right.
that simply meant there was a correlation between that, and so we decided to drop the perception. Now, right now we only have two broad parameters: the past and the perception, the present.
Right.
The present, of course, has like I was telling the legislative role is taken into account, like how they are participating in the legislative processes and all that. Let me show you. So the report has those parameters well laid out. I'll just show you how it works, and I hope this is clear. So we have the present where we have the sessions attended, we have the number of questions, the importance of questions, the local area development fund. Now this accounts to about 87% of the data, while the
Okay.
17%, 30% of the data is the past, which is the question, the education qualification, the income, whether they have an income, the PAN card, and the criminal record. And then we
Right.
have those negative marking for a new
Right.
criminal record. Let me show you how it kind of looks on
Negative
a.
marking is for criminal record only.
Yeah, so what happens is like during the affidavit, they do put out the number of cases that they have.
Yes.
But if uh, post the election, if there is a new FIR registered against them, that's pretty serious. Like, I mean, you need
Right.
to take into account their lawmakers and there's a new FIR on them. Like, so we
Yes.
give some kind of negative marking for that.
Right.
And another negative marking we give for if there's a charge sheet file. Charge sheet means that prima facie there's evidence that
Yeah.
something has
Got
happened.
it. Got it.
Also, this criminal record is only about cases which are, as per the People's Representative Act, which have to be declared, which are cases of riot, murder, extortion, molestation, cases which require the punishment will be a minimum of 2 years and plus.
Hmm.
So these are serious in nature. Like, so we are not taking off into account cases which are simply maybe doing a peaceful dharna or something like that. Those cases
Right.
are much lesser sentence
Uh,
if they are
correct. Correct.
given a sentence also. Like.
Right.
So let me show you one of the ranks pages, how it looks. I'm trying to show the first ranker.
Yes.
So it's Amin Patel who has been ranked first. So here we of course have a comparison between the current rank and the last year's rank and all that.
Hmm.
There's a profile page about that person. And then we have these broad parameters where
Hmm.
we're given them some ranking. So because it's a year on year, yeah, the arrows show like whether it's dipped down or it's gone up,
Right.
or it's
Right.
same and all that. Right?
Right.
And just to point out, this is a report card ranking, so the scores are also very important. Like
Hmm.
rank means, of course, there's a comparative kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
It's a relative,
Right.
right? But the scores would be out of a total of 100. So
Hmm.
what we do urge people
Hmm.
to look at both the things. Like
Okay.
ultimately, you want your legislator as a group to perform better,
Right.
not just to be ranked relatively better.
Right, right. So when you say quality of questions, especially how do you kind of assess that? Um, because
Yeah.
attendance and number of questions is pretty straightforward, right? I mean, but in terms of quality of questions, how can
So we
people
had
kind of understand that? Yeah.
Right. So we had a lot of discussion when we kind of designed this with many people, including the MLS councillors
Hmm.
themselves, like, just to understand how to look at it.
Hmm.
So one of the things which came out was that any forum has a role as per the
Right.
constitution. So the state has a state list under which they should be legislating. Of course, there's certain concurrent subjects on which they can legislate. Like.
Right.
When it comes to the councillors, of course, it's only based on the Municipal Act and the subjects of the like. They of
Got
course discuss more beyond that. But that so let's say in the Maharashtra Assembly they might discuss something on let's take the Israel conflict right now. Like they might want to
Mm,
discuss something on that. Like nobody's going to stop them from that. But
mm,
the implication of that discussion in the Maharashtra Assembly is not going to be
mm.
significant because that's not the role of the Maharashtra Assembly. That's the role of the Parliament of India. Like, because
Right.
that's foreign affairs is Parliament's domain. Like.
Right.
So we had to, of course, take into account those kind of questions. But
Mm,
we also had to take into account that the questions which are in their domain. So we gave more marking for it. What we did was we listed out for the MLAs about 4 areas of classifications. So we
mm,
took social infrastructure, we took physical infrastructure, we took economic infrastructure,
mm.
governance, policy making, and agriculture and food infrastructure, which were
Right.
the major domains under which they do ask questions or
Assemblies. Right. Yeah.
they should be legislating, right? And
Mm.
then, of course, in them we kind of had various issues. We gave some vetting for it, and then we done a vetting kind of thing to look at which are the are they asking more questions on uh, which area and are they asking questions on all the areas which are required, and of course multiply that by the number of questions or deliberations that they have taken part. So it
Right.
gave a weighting kind of on
Yeah.
each of the person, because you have some of the MLAs who are more interested only in, let's say, in the education infrastructure, but they don't care
Ah,
about crime or
yeah.
housing or mobility. Um, so the marking kind of goes down.
I will not bring in renaming of the roads here.
Renaming was not a function of the MLA, so
Yeah.
they are they of course don't ask that.
Luckily for us, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but the councils was. But,
Yeah.
but like I said, that it's one of the functions. So we had to kind of take it as a one of the function and give it some weightage. So we're
Right.
giving it weightage, but a lower weightage. Like
Right.
probably the quality of road is more important than the renaming function. So we
Correct.
gave a weighting accordingly.
Correct. 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 Now, I mean, when we understand these parameters, when this report card comes out in the public domain, how does a citizen kind of infer from this? How do they benefit from this? Like, in the sense that if you could kind of elaborate on how should, simply put, how should people make use of this? Like, how should they, in understanding their MLA, their area's MLA, or yeah.
So first, this is a tool for the MLA or himself or herself. Like,
Hmm.
okay, then it's for the political parties leadership to kind of look
Hmm.
at it, and then of course common citizenry. Like, I think one of the areas where for anybody to look at this tool would be first to understand what is the role of the MLA or a councillor.
Hmm. Right.
The role is primarily to legislate on the domain where of area, I mean, list of subjects which that forum has to offer. Like that's the primary role. Anything apart from that is something which could fall into the domain of maybe even social work, like having
Hmm.
running a health camp or something like that,
Hmm.
are social work kind of areas, and which our political leadership is very well tuned towards. They do want to do those kind of social work things, which is good. I mean, let them be doing it. But what is more important is like
Like
what they
having
do.
vaccine camps during COVID and that sort of a thing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they can do that, but as a social work area, like I mean,
Right.
making sure that the government runs vaccine camp is their legislative role, probably,
Got
and
it.
which they, I mean, not as a
That's the difference. Yeah, right.
yeah, and not as a like I mean, they're not part of the government, so they can't make sure. I mean, do conduct those camp, but they can make sure when the house is in session, they raise these questions, they deliberate about it, they question the policy, they point out defects, they point out
Mm.
good things as well, and try to build programs around it. Like that's what they need to do. Like not
Right.
really be running their own blood donation camps and something like that. I mean,
Right.
that is something which is great as an individual, as a social
Right.
worker or something like that, like, or a philanthropist. I mean, they can do that. Like, now that is something which our citizens first need to understand, and then this
Mm-hmm.
tool will become effective.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time we do come across citizens who say that, "Well, but my MLA is not even present for my for some function or something like that. He's not seen the area." But that's or my roads are broken and that person is not coming and to see the status of the road and work, making sure that the garbage gets picked up. He's not there in the morning doing his rounds. That's, these are good optics politically, but
Hmm.
but as a legislator, it has a limited usage. It's only the usage is only to understand what is happening on the ground, right? And then take it back. Like
Hmm.
beyond that, they need to take it back to the assembly and deliberate around it.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
that's where this tool comes into picture.
Hmm.
This is a very much a legislative tool to understand their performance.
Right.
So we do understand that a common citizen may not always appreciate a tool like this. A tool which is more important for researchers, for analysts to look at what has been the performance, for media people, for political leadership itself, because they also do want to have good lawmaking done, and because ultimately that's going to result into better infrastructure services and all that stuff. Like,
Got
and
it.
for the elected representatives, like which are the areas where they can kind of really focusing. I mean, which they should be really focusing on. Like,
Hmm. Right. So, I mean, you also always, like when we had the initial discussion about this interview, you said that, you don't want these report cards to be used only around elections. And, so I wanted you to kind of explain that to our viewers that, why are these report cards useful throughout the term? And secondly, we cannot leave out elections because they're just around the corner. So is there a way in which people who are voters could use these report cards effectively, to understand what has been going on?
so the basic idea of a indirect democracy of our like ours is that running a government, making sure the government runs effectively, are both full-time jobs. You can have executive officials running the government, but to make sure that do their job, you have to have a legislator sitting out there, right? And it's a job which is really a full-time kind of thing. Like
Correct.
uh, if we leave the legislator out in our interaction as citizens for 5 years, there will be a lot of mess which will be created. You can't solve that. Like and after you have voted for somebody, irrespective of who comes in, that person is your representative. It's your elected representative. Like you're a part of his or her constituency. Like so, it's important that through the 5 year term, we interact with our elected representatives, give them a feedback of what are our needs, wants, what are the issues that we are facing, and also understand what they are doing about it in the legislative forum. Like
Hmm.
this tool comes into picture at that point of time. Like
Hmm.
and it can't be just done at the end of the 5 year term.
Right.
Important to it to understand the end of the 5 year term, because you want to then consider whether to give that person renominate that person as your MLA
Right.
or not. But during that 5 year term, if we are able to give that person periodic feedback,
Right.
it will allow that person to improve on it.
Right.
Okay, so that will result into better service delivery and all that stuff. Like ultimately,
Right.
that's what we want, right? I mean,
Yeah.
in this form of democracy, irrespective of who wins or loses, we all are part of it as citizens. We all are equal stakeholders. Like. So it's important to move beyond those political boundaries and try to work as a community to build it. This tool kind of fits over there. Like. Of course, it can be used at the end of the 5 year term,
Hmm.
provided it's understood from a legislative perspective. Like
Hmm. Got it.
to understand how the person has done a job as a legislator, like,
Hmm.
and then use it towards giving a feedback or holding the person accountable. I mean, there are councillors or MLAs sometimes we see that who don't even attend meetings at all,
Hmm.
don't bother about raising issues or deliberating and all that, but
Hmm.
probably are good at social work and all that.
Hmm.
Uh, there are people who arrange religious tours and all that for certain communities, and then they become much more popular. Like, and they keep
Correct.
on probably winning elections after elections. Like, and there are legislators who do some solid work in lawmaking and all that, and sometimes you don't see them getting re-elected. I think
Hmm.
that's where the voters and the voters
Awareness
political
of
awareness is going
people,
to be
yeah.
improved.
Right.
And it's political awareness, not about social awareness. Like
Hmm.
it's
True.
civic political awareness. We need to
Yeah.
understand what
Hmm.
the job of that person is like.
Right, right. And I think it kind of then also puts the onus on people, right? I mean, like it is also our responsibility to work hard to understand who is working and how we are electing them rather than just going by some I mean something superficial. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think civic political education is something that
Mm,
we still have a lot to do about
mm.
as a society.
Right,
Uh, like civics is just a like at least it used to be 50 marks in my uh, old curriculum, and nobody bothered about it. Like it was
right.
just always
It was the most
number.
ignored subject, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And irony is like whatever happens in the government domain or the public domain affects us irrespective of where we stand in the social or economic hierarchy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And the subject that would have given us an idea about how things work and what is the cause effect relationship and all that is not even given that importance and priority.
Due
Um,
weightage, in the larger academic thing, right?
and the dichotomy of that is that when it comes to Indian scenario, it's a developing country scenario. So like uh, socioeconomic growth is indirectly proportionate to the political like participation. Like
True.
you ask a low income community who the MLA, councillor, MP are, they will know everything about that person. Like I mean, literally everything about that person.
Correct, correct.
Um, ask somebody who is in a higher socioeconomic category, and they would probably not even know the name. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, forget knowing anything about a person.
right.
And that we see in voter turnout also, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the ward which fares the best from the
correct.
end is actually Malabar
Yeah,
Hill and those areas. Like
correct, correct,
they are
correct.
always the last.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody bothers to go more to them.
As reporters, we start really worrying around like noon or post 2 o'clock that अरे बाप रे ये लोग आएंगे कि नहीं आएंगे वोट करने को
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I
Mm.
mean, people like you or us who are probably a little more into the political system in some manner. Like it's something that we do bother about it, but
Right,
sadly, many citizens do not bother about it, and that's true for people who are actually on a higher socioeconomic
correct,
part of it. Like, and that's
correct.
actually only true in a developing economy scenario. In a developed economy scenario, it's
Mm.
much different. Like
Will be the other
the
way around, probably.
yeah, people who are more educated, who are more affluent, they want to be part of the building a community. So it's actually a reflection on people who, at the moment in the country, who have means. It's a poor reflection of that. Them. It's not a reflection of the people, the common person who is still
Who's
aspiring
still
to become
trying?
a
Yeah, who's still trying? Yeah, correct, correct, correct. Wow. Yeah, I think, but it's important to understand because I think when we proactively demand more out of people who represent us, we all stand to gain better from it, right? So I think it's
absolutely
very important to give a little bit of time and energy to that process, I think.
true, true. So I mean, I there's just a point that you made, and I think a bit. A generation before us, everybody went to public school and public hospitals and
Yes,
dispensaries, right?
yes, yes.
I mean, it's true in some areas of the country. I mean, you go to hilly regions, probably still there because of probably lack of access. Like, but
Right.
largely in the country, we have moved away from public hospitals and public dispensaries.
Yes, yes.
Um, earlier, even if you were affluent, you did go there. Like, and
Correct.
because people who had means, who and their children when they access those health facilities, they would demand for a better service,
Better, correct, correct.
right? Our stake in that was there. Like
Yeah.
now we had people who are affluent. We have, I mean, those people have removed their stake from the system.
Mm.
So if we really want our systems to perform better, we'll
Got it.
have to put our stake over there. Like if we
Right.
want public transport to work better, we probably have to encourage our key executives to probably take public transport.
Take the bus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's start from the bureaucracy. Like, I mean, why do we have to have a official car for them? Like, I
Hmm.
mean, they can have a carpooling if required, but if you get them to actually access use public transport,
Hmm.
I think there would be a change. Like,
There'll be a change, correct. So, apart from the MLA report cards, you also publish a lot of other reports, right? So just briefly, could you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah.
So we have two levels of reports. One level is done at a city level, that's primarily with Mumbai and Delhi, and one other level of reports are national level reports. In the city level reports, we have report cards, MLA council report cards, and we have delivery of services reports like civic, education, crime, health, housing, law and order. So about five thematic issues and the two report cards that we do for MLA council. At the national level, we have a flagship report on understanding how the urban governance reforms happened since the 74th Amendment of the Constitution.
Mm.
It's a report that we do every 3 to 4 years. Second edition was just released last week. We have a report on municipal finance, where we've been tracking data across 43 cities across all the states in the country. The urban reform governance index is, of course, again address at pan India, so it's all the states in the country where we look at it. And we have a special planning report which we just created along with one of our partners. And then we have some small thematic reports that we do nationally, like climate, and we do something on working related representatives.
We did a lot after your civic issues report came out. We tried to do a lot on the garbage related issue and how the biggest food waste was the biggest waste
Biggest, yeah.
generator. And, we had a lot of discussion about that internally also. And we tried to put out a lot of stories around that also. Yeah. Just as curiosity, how long does it take for you to put out one report, like to make one report? How
Uh,
many people work on it and how long does it take?
so we have a very interesting model. We have, of course, a small team of full timers. Right now, we have a team of about 35 people who work full time. But we have a lot of volunteers who work with us, interns who work with us.
Right.
And we have a fellowship program, which is an annual fellowship program, so year-long fellowship program that we do. Currently, we have about 30 fellows working full time for a year-long fellowship. Every last year, we had about roughly 440 interns who worked with us across the country. And when they say interns, they spend at least couple of months full time working with us.
Okay.
Plus, we have like we do work with some partner organization. So there's a small
Yeah,
army
that's
of
a
people
lot
who
of,
work on it.
yeah, multiple.
Because data related and a lot of other events and
Right.
capability work that we also do. So it kind of fits into that. Um, what we had kind of worked over a period of time is the cycle of putting RTIs and getting data and then digitizing the data, correcting it and all that. So it's a
Right.
year-long process which happens. Every year we do about 12 to 15 main reports, and then we have a lot of newsletters and all which come.
Right. One last question, Milind, for you, and you can add if there's anything that we left out. You mentioned earlier in the interview that data is very important for um, to understand what's going on, really, right? And that is something that we don't always naturally focus on. I mean, as people or just citizens who are going about their everyday lives, we don't necessarily look for numbers all the time. So, if you could just tell us something about, how to use this data. Is this data available? What can an ordinary citizen do in terms of understanding data or using this data?
So data is pretty much available in the public domain. I
Mm.
would say easily available.
Okay,
Okay. We have improved a lot over the years. Okay, that's
right,
again, it's a work in progress. So it's not
got
like things are not improved, and it is improved significantly. Okay,
right,
a lot more needs to be done. But this data is available in silos. Even government officers sometimes are not able to get that data.
right,
First of all, our cities are managed by multiple agencies, so each agency maintains its own data. Sometimes
right.
within the same agency, you have multiple missions which are run or multiple programs which are run. So each program maintains their own data. Nobody's putting in effort to bring this data together.
Mm.
So what a lot of time what happens in our reports is like we collect data from multiple levels, multiple agencies, put it together and present it in the report, and that itself gives a lot of insight into what is happening and what can be done as better. Uh, I think as common citizen, it's data comes second probably. The first is simply making sure that we are aware what our roles of different uh, bodies are there. Like, I mean, different government bodies or different, like the MLA, councillor, MP, what roles they have. Uh, it's important to know which are the areas or modes of interacting with the government. Right now, there are a lot of online modes to interact with the government. Like, you
Right.
want to access some information, there's a lot of information is available. Not maybe not the complete information, but a lot of information is available online. So you can know which department, and you should be able to go there. Like, almost every other department, or if not at their own end, at least at the state end, there's a function to put in a complaint or register a complaint. Like, people should
Right.
understand how to do that
How
stuff.
to
Like,
use that,
because
right.
that's where you start engaging with the government.
Mm.
Like, I don't think a common citizen would be able to spend time to do research and data and all. I think it's
Right.
something that certain segment of the people who take up that job, like, I mean, media person like you, question like
Mm.
us,
Mm.
or individual activists, or I mean, people like them,
Got it.
or
Correct.
maybe youth at the young days, like, I mean, the scholarship
Right.
days and all. Like, I think these are groups
Yeah,
who
students
would.
who are studying public policy or that kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. So these are the people who would probably get more engaged with data and all this stuff. I think others, the larger citizenry, should simply make sure that they understand how the roles, the various departments, the connection between them. This is civic
Mm.
awareness. Like, if they're
Right.
more aware about it, whenever they need some access or some thing to do about it, they will be able
They'll
to
move on.
go and do it. Like, um, data. It's something that people who are working like us, we should be using it more,
Mm.
because then we can make sure that the narrative is built properly, and
Right.
we're able to create some impact. Otherwise, we'll keep on talking about the same issue, but the change won't happen. Like,
Right. Right.
here one example of what we did, and it was very interesting because the data was available with the government itself. Like,
Mm.
so BMC, the Mumbai Corporation, runs this health checkup program for school kids, and it's a program which has been going on for about 130, 140 years. Okay,
Mm.
it's a robust program which has been running.
Mm.
Somehow nobody cares about it,
Huh.
or at least nobody cared about that program for a
Yeah.
very long time. Okay, 2017, we had this report, and we were monitoring the data for about 4, 5 years. Like,
Mm.
okay, so the data seemed a little off in the sense, like, it seemed like great things were happening around in public health, in terms of the kids who are going to the public schools and all that. Like, which, of course, there were other studies which are showing that stunting has increased, malnourishment has increased, obesity has increased. A lot of those data points were always coming from small studies. Like, incidentally, this same department came up with a report, which again nobody bothered, and we picked it up. Like, we said that one in every third kids going to municipal school in Mumbai were
Mm.
malnourished.
Okay.
Huge
And
number, right? I mean, this is Mumbai.
ah,
Okay, this is not
yeah.
a small city in
No,
some
no.
obscure place.
Got it. Yeah.
And we had other data which kind of showed a lot of other stuff, and we just put that report out, and it got picked up.
Mm.
There's of course some story around how it got picked up and what happened post that, but the end of it was that the corporation actually started focusing on that
Right.
their school health program. They made sure that the commissioner actually made sure in the next budget that there's extra allocation for that, and the next few budget speeches he was actually making statements around it,
Right.
but they were
Right.
monitoring it.
Right.
So that's the story of data. Like, I mean, we could have gone on to, like, doing those small studies
Bring it
to
in the
see.
right perspective. Yeah.
Really. And it's their own data. It's not that we had to kind of do a survey and integrate.
Right.
So government data is itself very strong, but sadly, what happens is, like, even they are not able to look at the data themselves. So
Mm.
that's probably the job of we all who are sitting on the ring,
Correct.
trying to nudge the government towards the right action. We should be using it to nudge them, like, not just putting a narrative saying that you need to, like, we've done this small study in a small community and you need to fix the issue of malmanagement. I mean, that won't be helpful, like, unless you actually look at their own data sets and give them a point to work on it, and maybe then substantiate with your other studies that you.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Milind. Is there anything that you would like to add to this? We've had a long conversation about a lot of things, but is there
No,
anything
this is
you missed
good.
out on, or would you like to add anything?
No, this is good. Thank you.